Hi guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to day 6 of our watercolor Christmas cards. So today I thought we would do a fun winter scene with some trees and maybe a gradient in the background. I didn't bother sketching anything out. We're just gonna play this by eye. So I've got my card pre-taped. I haven't done any taping yet previously except for one on the border because we weren't really going, you know, I didn't really care, but this one I do want to have a nice little border on it. So yeah, we'll get our background wet. Actually, we'll mix up our color first. So I want a little bit of like a blue indigo, like nighttime sky, but not too dark. And we're going to fade it out so it'll be darker at the top and lighter at the bottom. So I'm going to get some, yeah, indigo. Because it's got a bluish tint to it. Yeah, I think that's going to be good. We'll do some indigo, and I might throw in just a little hint of like phthalo blue, just to kind of blue it up. Get some extra blue in there so it's like a nice blue nighttime sky. Alright, so that'll be our color. Now we're going to rinse our brush, and I'm just going to use the same brush. We're just going to grab just clean water, and we're going to cover the whole thing. And since it's taped off, we don't have to be super careful. So we don't want puddles on the paper. We want it to be nice and shiny, but no puddles. If there's puddles, then you're going to get back runs, and it's not going to look as uniform. If you don't mind that, that's fine. That's completely up to you. And we have to remember too the type of paper that we're using. So this isn't cotton paper, so it can handle some water, but it is going to warp, and it's already starting. But that's fine. I've taped it down, so when it dries, it's going to go right back to its shape. It's not going to hold the water as long as cotton paper will, but that's okay because what we need to do with it is just nice and quick. So I'm just running my brush over it a few times just to make sure that it's nice and evenly saturated. And when you see like a nice shine to the paper but no puddles, you know you're good. And then I'm just going to take my brush along the edges too to make sure that there's no water like pooling along the tape, so that when we put our color down, that water is going to pool into the color and it can create a bloom. So perfect. Now we're going to take our color, and we just want to start it the most concentrated and the deepest at the top. And we're just going to work our way down. And I kind of do back and forth little swishy motions. And as I'm getting towards the bottom, I'm just grabbing just mostly water, and now I'm going to rinse my brush off completely and kind of just do water. And I'm just going to add just a little bit more indigo, maybe a hint of neutral tint, just to make it even a little bit darker, just right at the top. And we'll just do one more little pass. So I'm just making sure I get most of that color out. And I'm going to go up and work it back up, so that it's the darkest at the top. Now I'm going to let that dry, and then we'll go on with our next step. So I will see you guys when this is dry. Okay, so now that it's dry, you can see it's dried pretty flat again, so that's great. It's still a little bit light for me, so I'm just going to go back through one more time, do the exact same thing, darken it up again in our little gradient, just to see if I can get a little bit more contrast in there, and then I will be right back with our next step. So if you guys want to leave it how it is right now, great. If you want to do another layer, then let's do that. Okay, so now that this is dry, we can go in and do some trees and make it like a little forest scene. So I'm gonna go and I'm gonna take my size 8 brush here, and I'm gonna make sort of like a dark color, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna do a few layers. So we're gonna start off really pale because trees in the background are pretty light, they're pretty pale, and then as we get towards the foreground, we're gonna get darker and darker. So we'll make a few mixes, darken it up, and we'll go from there, and we'll have to let it dry in between. So that's dry now, so we're going to make, I'm going to take some of this color that we have here, but I'm going to add some green into it, and a little bit of our indigo too. So it's sort of like a greeny indigo, but our first layer, I'm going to make sure that I have like lots and lots of water and barely any of this on my brush. It's just going to be, you know, a very light, light mixture, and we're just going to do a few trees. So first these are just going to be loose trees. You can do them however you want. You don't have to have any trees here, but we're going to do some in the background. So I'm going to do a line. For the stem of the tree. And then I'm just going to kind of do some dotting for our tree. So our trees in the background are going to be a little looser. A little less defined. Alright, and I'm going to do another one, maybe over here, maybe a smaller one. And I'm just kind of doing like a side to side, you know, like that, like lower and lower. Okay, and then maybe we'll do one that's kind of coming off of the page here. So I'm just doing little dabs, and you'll see it starts smaller and then it gets bigger as we get to the bottom. Okay, so those are going to be our first trees, so we'll have to let those dry, and then we'll come back with our next layer. Okay, so now that these are dry, we're going to take that same mixture, but I'm just going to add a little bit of black into it, just to make it even darker. And this time I'm going to be just taking a little bit of water off my brush, and we're going to be doing some more trees. So maybe we've got a tree over here. I'm just mixing up a little bit more of that over here. Just a little bit more concentrated. And I'm just going to drop it in, make it a little bit darker. Okay, and we'll do another tree over here. Maybe this one's going to be a little bit taller. Let's lift in a little bit. So this one's getting close, so it's going to be pretty big, but okay. And then we're gonna do one more little one, just over here. Okay, so we'll let these dry again, and then we'll go back with one more layer. Okay, so now that this layer is dry, we're going to go in with our last layer, or this could be, you know, whatever layer for you. You can do however many you want. So I'm just going to make a little bit more concentrated of the indigo, and the black we want it to be a little bit darker because it's closest to us. So this is going to be almost black, but not quite, a very, very dark. All right, so I'm going to do one right here. And we're just tapping. I just want to make sure that our branches are just coming slightly, just slightly longer than our other ones. And I'm just going to darken just a couple little places just to make sure the contrast is really good between this layer and the layer before. So I'm just doing little taps. Okay. So there's barely any water, just enough water for the paint to flow. Okay. So maybe I'm gonna do, maybe I'll do another tree like kind of coming off the edge on this side. Okay, and then maybe we'll do a little tiny one over here. Kind of as a little friend to this guy, sort of like a medium height one. And you can see as our trees are getting closer, they're getting more defined, and it's easier to kind of control the brush strokes a little bit. I'm just going to darken up there. There, so those are our little tree families. So we're going to let this dry, and then we're going to do some stars in the background if you want. You could leave it at this, or you can go in with some gouache paint like me. So now that this is nice and dry, I'm just going to dab a little bit of this Winsor and Newton zinc white gouache here. And we're just going to do a little bit of stars in the background. So I'm just going to get my brush, get a little bit of water, get this nice and wet. So the more saturated the brush is, the easier it's going to be. And I'm just going to tap some stars in. Some stars, some snow. It can be whatever you want. Now the closer you are, the smaller it's going to be on the paper, and the further away you are, the bigger it's going to be. I'm going to have some on the trees. Just going to get a little bit of water, make it quite wet, and just make sure we get some nice big ones on there. Now I'm really flinging the brush to get the big ones. You have to be careful with that though, because it can go all over the place. So there. That is going to be our card for today. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching that. If you did, please subscribe and hit the like button because that does help a lot. And be sure to tune back for the next card. Thanks for watching.